What's up, everybody? How y'all doing? This is your boy Warren Marlowe, live. I say it again, live. I hope all is well. Guys, happy Thursday. That's right, guys. We are back for a live special one-on-one, and I've got a great episode for us today. Obviously, this week is Super Bowl weekend. My team's not in it, so I'm pretty sure half of a lot of other people's teams are not in it, except two certain teams right now. We'll get into them and talk about that as well. Obviously, talk about some cool things that happened this season. Just overall, with me being a Jags fan, it was just insane for me. But guys, just to start it out, man, if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. I want y'all to hit that notification bell to stay in contact with all our platforms, give you a notification for whenever we are posting stuff, addressing stuff, announcing the guests, and obviously putting out our episodes. You can catch us on Google Podcasts, Podbean, Podchaser, Podvine, Buzzsprout, Anchor, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere on Apple right now. So that's a round of applause on us right there. That has been insane. Audio-wise, we are there. I think the only thing that we're mainly not on is Pandora. No lie, guys. I want to know why Pandora doesn't want to play our stuff, but hey, that is what it is. But also, guys, you can catch our video, what you're seeing right now, on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and of course on Twitch. That's right, guys. We got a lot of ways to progress this thing, and it's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Obviously, as you could see the background, it is Super Bowl weekend, and obviously you could tell I have a nice, awesome guest for us tonight. It's going to be fun. Like I said, this is the live episode. It's not Friday. It's Thursday. I thought about, why not have a cool, fun episode regarding the Super Bowl this weekend. As much as all y'all going to be watching it, I'm literally going to be at work. So, yeah, that's the sad part on this. Go. But yeah, guys, as y'all can tell, Annabelle wants to make her little entrance already. But I'm not going to waste any more time, guys. When the countdown goes 30-1, we will be joined with the one, the only. Once again, he's coming back. That's right, guys. Mr. Kevin Bryant. And that countdown starts right after our commercial break in 3, 2, 1, right now.
With Batsy. It was just last night, as the entire country was tuning into its favorite talk show.
You simply makes you stranger.
VMAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audiences.
Don't even know why I'm watching, cause it ain't funny when you ain't here. But I know you're going away, so I'm watching so we can stay here. I heard you trying to protect myself. I ain't making excuses, I'm just letting you know I understand why you live. It was toxic, that's for your health. You're trying so hard to love me, but I really couldn't love myself. I needed your patience, baby, but time's up. Whole time I really felt like I wasn't enough. Deleted all of your pictures cause I can stomach the fact. After all that we've been through, my baby's not coming back. I swear that I go down crying while I'm writing this track. I swear that I go down crying while I'm writing this track. Got more words this. Day one popped out, ain't nobody in this motherfucker fly to me. These bitches all in my DM, texting them back was good, but I ain't really trying to see them.
Out, he said he accepted, and you know what? Nobody wants to see it. Because nobody remembers the American prodigy. All this history, and nobody cares. But if you could find one, that's all I'm asking. If you could find one promotion that wants to put this on, I'll be there. I will be. There's no running. There's no running. Not at all. I will be there. Right in the center of the ring. You versus me. And then when I beat you, you'll understand that maybe wrestling wasn't for you. Maybe this is a good new career change. You're a podcaster. You're an influencer, social media.
What's up?
Florida, weighing 238 pounds.
All right, guys, I'm joined with Kevin Bryant. How you doing, man?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me back on, Warren.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. How have you been?
Good. Busy.
You and me both. So, guys, if y'all don't remember, Kevin Bryant was on here because the last time we did it, he wrote a book, and obviously it was about the NFL. Kevin, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. That's it right there. So, yeah, the book's
Such a
called
dang
Spies
good
on the
book.
Sidelines, the high-stakes world of NFL espionage, and it is all about how NFL teams gather information on each other, on their opponents, trying to gain a game day advantage. And it goes throughout the entire history of the NFL and has stories in there from every single NFL team that is around. So, yeah, it goes through all types of different topics, everything from what is permitted to what's questionable to what's flat out, illicit and is not allowed by the NFL, but still goes on.
Show must go on, right?
Right.
So obviously that book's been out for a while now and stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure that it had to do really well because I gotta admit I can never watch the NFL the exact same anymore from reading that novel. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I think it's a unique insight into a side of the NFL that not a lot of people know about.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you know how like this season itself. I mean, my gosh, like this season itself, there's so many questions of like, something was planned out for them to win or something like that. Like, it's so crazy, like how we've been watching this game for countless of times. Like, good Lord, the NFL has been out forever. And I'm pretty sure all of us in our years, we've probably watched either half our life or pretty much our whole life watching an NFL football game on Sundays or Super Bowls, the playoffs, something like regarding the NFL. We have been watching since the end of the time right now. So it's crazy to see like how everything's been so dictated, especially this season. I said this season was probably the most craziest season I have seen in the NFL in such a long time. Like, top teams completely annihilated this season. Your second string and third string were basically your starters for like a whole half of a season. And this is like on every team. This wasn't like just certain like little bits of teams. This was like every single team. I remember one team had a kicker to play as a quarterback.
Yeah.
I remember our time when we had to do that. That wasn't a great option. So, and I mean, obviously with you being a Denver fan, I'm sorry.
Oh God, yeah, it was a rough year.
We've had our bruises too, so I can't say nothing at all in regards to that. Yeah. I mean, if anybody remembers the bag wires after that, yeah, that was a yearly thing right there. But we could talk about your team because I was so excited when they signed Russ. I thought that was a big addition for y'all. This was going to be a new transition point for y'all. Like, Russ was going to bring like a QB experience, kind of like how Tom Brady brought what he did at Tampa. You would have thought Russ would have had that same kind of knowledge to bring into a newer team because he had a lot of weapons in Denver at first. Like, he had a good amount of guys. It's just you had to get that chemistry build up and stuff like that. And I've my goodness, it looked like somebody put a cheat code on Russ this season.
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, so we, along with Russell Wilson, we brought in a new head coach, Nathaniel Hackett, who was the former Packers offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Quite frankly, he didn't look like he couldn't hack it. Pardon the pun. So I think Russell Wilson was put in a bit of a bad situation there. Having said that, are we going to be able to turn this, Broncos, are they going to be able to turn it around with Sean Payton now as the head coach? Well, if anybody can do it, he's the guy you want. Worked with, Drew Brees for a lot of years, another smaller quarterback. I think with Russell Wilson, he came over from Seattle and, he was kind of babied there in the sense that it was a very run-heavy game. Yep. That, and the idea was that Nathaniel Hackett was going to open it up for Russell Wilson, and he would thrive and be one of these elite quarterbacks like the rest of, like some of the others. And frankly, it just kind of looked to me like, the Seahawks had it right all along. He's not in that caliber. He can thrive, but he needs a strong run game to go with it, and he's not the guy who's going to win the game by himself.
Yeah, it was proven. Right?
Right.
I mean, it's crazy because like the stuff that we saw in Seattle, I get it. Yes, they're like a run offense and stuff like that, but when Russ was on, Russ was like untouchable. I mean, my wife's side of the family is like a big Seattle Seahawks fan, and like we went to Seattle, and I'm pretty sure everybody can hear the rest of that story. Like you eat, breathe, sleep, all that damn color that year. Like seriously, I remember when I left Seattle, I was like, I don't want to see anything with a Seahawks color for at least a month. Like everywhere I turned, there was something with Seahawks. So it's like, obviously there's got to be a different structure in Seattle compared to what he came in with Denver, because I thought Denver was going to, I really thought that was the main thing that they were missing was just a quarterback. So I really thought that was going to be y'all's big transition. I mean, y'all still had some great wide receivers coming in there. I mean, y'all had a very up-and-coming tight end that I thought was really going to make a big difference. What's up, Tino? Hope you're doing well, man. Guys, also check out my boy Tino on Tino Talk Pro Wrestling. Tino, he streams everything, live streams everything, man. Does watch-alongs. That is the watch-along man right here. He does watch-alongs for movies, games, wrestling, sports, all of it. You name it, check that man out. Tino, man. I hope you're doing well, buddy. But back to the Denver talk, like it was so crazy, like how so many teams just crumbled. Like the new additions, like think of it like the NBA. NBA puts all these super teams together. You're thinking, oh man, that's going to be a different transition to the teams. Some of these teams literally would play terrible with that super squad. I mean, do we need to remember with the Browns?
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's just a ton of factors that go on into the success of a team, and like you said, sometimes it just comes down to chemistry. Sometimes it comes down to coaching, injuries, obviously, and spying, how well you can gather and defend information. Like I write about, that's it's another one. There's a lot of things that go in today's NFL. Man, there's so much parity. Because of the way the NFL draft is built and because of the way the salary cap works. And, week in and week out, we see, most of the games determined by 7 points or less.
Yeah.
And that's how the league wants it. And so, the question becomes, how do you get that tiny little advantage? And that's where the spying tactics come in to try to help get you over that hump.
What's up, Kofi? What's up, my boy from the Dirty Hills podcast? Guys, checked him out. Yes, sir. We alive. Go ahead, man. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just think it's, it's very complex. It's hard to tell who's going to be the team the next year and what all those factors are, man. You might as well flip a coin up in the air at times. And there's always rookies that, 6th round draft pick who ends up being a star of the show. And you just can't predict that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I'm so glad our pickup helped. Oh my gosh. I was so happy. I mean, I was so happy about Trevor, but we were also worried at the same time about Trevor because it was just like the transitions and stuff and stuff like that. Like, oh man, is this going to be like another incident where we're going to have problems after another? I mean, I liked Minshew. In my opinion, I really like Gardner Minshew. Yeah. I love the mentality. This guy gave me like Tim Tebow vibes. Like he might not have been the number one mobile quarterback, but he was wanting to win. And that's something that we needed. I mean, for the last couple of seasons, I remember Jacksonville was barely able to win 5 games in 2 seasons, sadly. Like that was the embarrassing part. And for us to, have 2 games back-to-back this season, we're thinking, okay, we're going to make this a new transition. And then we go play the Eagles. Everything just crumbled after that game.
Yeah, I mean, Eagles wrecked a lot of seasons this year. So, you guys aren't the only one.
Oh man, but no, not even that. Like the one thing I gotta say about my team regarding was like we weren't losing by a lot of numbers. Like we were losing, but we were only losing by like a field goal, maybe an extra touchdown, something like that. But we're not getting blown out. Other than the game at Detroit, I still am trying to figure that one out. But that was Detroit. Detroit is like who would be the reference for SEC? I would say before Tennessee was that top dog. I would say Texas A&M before Jimbo Fisher came in. Right. Like they would just beat these questionable teams out of the blue. Like the number one team, they would just beat, and that's their only win for that season. That's how Detroit played, in my opinion, for this thing. But it was so crazy, like how we turned around and they said, "Hey, y'all got to win 5 games straight." Might add, these games were not easy games for us to win 5 games straight to make the playoffs. And we were behind every game in the opening of the first half. And then somehow in the second half, I felt like somebody played an NFL Madden game and started controlling Trevor Lawrence and made him indestructible or whatever. And we kept pulling games out.
Trevor Lawrence has a little bit of that Tebow factor to him where, he knows
how to throw a little bit better, though.
I don't know.
He's got a better throwing.
There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. What I mean by that is I don't know if he's ever going to be an elite NFL quarterback. He certainly was in college. Obviously, he's improving. He's getting better. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. But what I will say about him is, like how Tebow could turn it on when it really counted and just take over a game by himself and just will his team to victory. I see a lot of that same thing with Trevor Lawrence. And, that's a great trait to have. And
that's the only thing Urban Meyer did positive for our team before he left.
Yeah.
Remember the last time we were talking about that because it was around when Urban signed.
Yep.
It answered your question. They needed a spy for that one. Oh my gosh, they could have saved us some money. Man, oh my gosh, that was the most fumble thing I've ever heard in my life. Gosh, all Florida fans, like I live by the Gator Nation basically, and they're like, "Yeah, man, Urban's gonna bring victories back to us. We're gonna put you so strict." I'm like, man, don't even. I said, go back and look at Nick Saban coaching the NFL, and you tell me what transition that worked for and why he's back in Alabama. Don't even.
Right. It's really tough. I mean, what makes a coach successful in college is 8 times out of 10, it comes down to recruiting. Right?
Yeah, and I think that just because the players are more humble, in my opinion.
I mean –
before the transfer portal,
right?
Of course, before the transfer portal,
right? But when you go to the pros, you don't have that advantage, man. There's no way you can out recruit the other team. All you can do is out suck the other team and get an earlier draft pick. I mean, so
it's like a game of poker,
right? And then we have allegations of teams purposefully tanking so they can get higher picks, right? So, obviously, to think that hasn't gone on in the NFL's history, I think is pretty naive. Obviously it probably does, but yeah, man, it's really hard. It's a different game. It's a different game between the NFL and college. So
what was the team that shocked you the most out of all of this season? So like, what was the most team that you literally looked at?
Oh,
like
gosh.
you felt like you knew what was going to happen with that team that were beginning of the season, was really shocked at the outcome of how they were at the end.
So I would say the teams that I was most surprised with probably are the Broncos, because I expected them to be good. The Raiders, who I also expected to be good, who just sucked. I mean, they lost so many.
They had a huge offense. I don't know how they couldn't score. Right? I don't know how they couldn't.
Yeah. And then, the Eagles. I don't know if anyone really – so when I saw the Eagles draft, and I live in Atlanta, right? And I saw the Eagles draft, and their first pick, the first pick overall, was a stud, University of Georgia nose tackle.
Yep.
Awesome first pick in the draft. I knew, that hit that out of the park. He's a stud. But they got a Nakobe Dean, who they got a linebacker in the 4th round, who was the heart and soul of Georgia's defense,
Yep.
right? A team captain, going to be a clear first-round pick, likely a top 15 pick, before injury concerns dropped him. And it wasn't even like he was injured. It was like, well, he could get injured.
I remember that.
Right?
Yes, I remember that.
So he drops all, and Philly gets both these guys. And I'm like, oh my God, their defense is going to be so stacked now because they were already looking pretty good. And then, Jalen Hurts was kind of like, I don't think anyone, obviously this was his breakout year. So everybody's like, yeah, he's up and coming, but how good's he going to be? What's his cap?
He shocked the world.
Dude, he shocked everybody, and he was just a stud. So, he had I don't remember the last couple weeks of the season, I saw a stat where he only had 5 interceptions all year long and a ridiculous amount of touchdowns. I was just like, oh man. So, those were the big shocks to me.
They had that Alabama receiver too. That boy doesn't drop out anything.
No, I was so thankful he got hurt in that championship game between Georgia and Alabama because I got a buddy we talk about all the time. We're like, if he didn't get hurt, Georgia doesn't win the championship that year.
Oh yeah, no doubt on that.
He's just tearing it up. Alabama.
It was like he just got a ball thrown up to him, and he just found any possible way of getting it. That kid's fast, he's mobile, and boy, he had icy hot on his hands or something because that boy just didn't drop a ball.
He's insane. He's insane, and he's only just beginning. So
that's even the sad part. This dude's already not even 2 years in season, and he's already in the Super Bowl. I think the craziest transition now is when we played the Chiefs. Pat Mahomes is hurt. I'm thinking if we're gonna win, it's got to be tonight. It's got to be tonight. And I'm thinking, it's kind of in our bag at that time. I'm like, Pat Mahomes is barely able to hand this ball off. And needless to say, a backup for us beats us. Who would ever thought we would got beaten out of the playoffs by Chad Henne?
Yeah.
90 yards. I don't even think Chad even threw 40 yards with Jacksonville.
No, but I think that's the big advantage of having one.
He had that one planned.
It's nice to have a veteran that can come in and fill those shoes because let's face it, if you're developing, let's say a second or third season guy that you maybe picked up in the 5th or 6th round, he ain't going to get the job done like that. Okay, so that's great. But the other thing I will say is that teams learn the strengths and the weaknesses of these guys. They learn the tendencies of all these quarterbacks. When you bring in a new guy like that, man, teams are like, what's going on? We don't know. We haven't seen this. We're not prepped for this. We're not ready.
We're going to have to go to a couple of steak dinners to get associated.
Right. So mentally, it's a challenge, because it's a bit of that panic factor. Man, what do we do? What's going on? How's this guy going to do things? But then also, he's going to have his own wrinkles, and he's going to play different than your regular starter. So it can be tough as a defender if that guy just comes in off the bench, and you're not prepared to see that in a game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt like that was with Trevor. Everybody shunned this kid last year, and I'm like, he really didn't have any help. Yeah. Trevor, I'm glad he got all his kinks out last season compared to what he did this season. He looked so much more adapted. Trevor looked a lot more mobile. The biggest thing I wanted Trevor to start doing is start using his feet, man. You can run. That was the biggest thing I didn't notice in the playoffs. He did it at very last chance things, but I don't know if the coach told him, hey, man, avoid running. Avoid running. I don't know what he was told. Because that man was throwing way too many picks to not be running sometimes.
Right.
And
it's tough, man. Because one, you're worried about injuries. The other thing is obviously a lot of times those receivers, they're getting open in the last split second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the difference between a quarterback looking like a stud and looking like an idiot can that receiver get open in that last split second? You know, and
And you
so
got to read the
from
defense
a
too.
fan's
You got to
perspective,
know everything.
right?
That's the hardest thing. I give Trevor props or any newer quarterback, because that has got to be the toughest part about the game. Like, you have to read the defense. Not only read the defense, you have to study. Like, okay, my guy's got this route. My guy's got this route. And like, I mean, coming from me from wrestling and stuff, like when I come through that curtain, there's an adrenaline standpoint. Like some of the stuff of that match, I totally forgot about. If we went over in the back, I totally forgot about it because of that adrenaline.
Yeah.
And then when you're on that field, I give so many guys props that, like, if they know their routes and stuff like that, because you're just sitting there looking at darts, because it's not like you could see everything so clear because you got everything looking at you. Like, it's like a spotlight on that quarterback. When you say hut, you got trucks coming at you, man. Like, you don't have no barriers, and you just quickly get out there and try to figure it out. That's why I know it's a good thing to have running backs, because all right, man, here you go.
Well, you know, the other thing is line of sight, you know, and so I think, especially for these quarterbacks that play for big colleges, you know, like Clemson.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, it comes out of an elite program like that. And the question in my mind is, when your offensive line can dominate that much and give you a really clean pocket and give you some really nice windows to be able to find your receivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to the pro game and that playing field gets even and you get guys right in your face, you get hands up, the defenders get bigger, right? I think a lot of times it can just be field of vision, and especially if you're not, you know, if you're not a 6'3", 6'4" quarterback, it can just be hard to find that field of view to be able to spot these guys at times. And you know, I often wonder how many quarterbacks just struggle with that once they hit the pro level too.
I mean, I used to, you know, I know we've all had our days where we go, man, you trash, blah, 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 but we don't realize what all it entails. And like, it's crazy when we get older and stuff, we start realizing more of what goes around with the game. And a quarterback, I give everybody props. If you're able to play that position, you got my respect, because it's like, if you do something good, high five, butt on the tap, whatever, and your receivers saved, whatever. But if you don't have something, and then the worst part is, obviously in the NFL, is it say like if you lose the game and it's based off of you, now you got to go relive that crap on the press box and tell them like, oh man, what happened? Blah blah blah. I'm like, man, it happened. It's one of those days. Like it's like I give them so many props, because it's like it's a different game for sure.
It's grueling. It's grueling. There's no doubt about it. And you know, you got to be so mentally strong. You know, I mean, you obviously did wrestling at a very high level, and I mean, I was a college NCAA soccer player, so I saw the grind there when you're doing 3-a-days and just you're dead. I mean, I would start warm up some days by walking the whole team because you're so sore you can't run, literally. But
those are my basketball days. I literally started hating playing basketball after I went to college.
Yes, you do. And I completely understand that. And, it takes something special to be able to stick it out, because that's how I got with soccer. And I love soccer all my life. But by the time I got to college and done with it, I was just like, man, I need a break. I am spent. I am done. And it took like 5 years to regain my love of the game after that, and to go, okay, I can just do this for fun again. And it's grueling. It's grueling. Those NFL players are studs.
Man, so give me your point of view. How did you feel about way that they were like the refs and stuff like that, and how the Pro Bowl this year? I'm a big adamant for flag football. I've been playing flag football since I stopped wrestling, and I thought it was a less contact sport. I got into it and got on a high level, and it's been a personal high for me for a long time. And it's so cool to actually see that this is now becoming an Olympic sport. Do you think that in a positive way, the NFL presented flag football for the Pro Bowl to be a positive impact for the future regarding flag football, or did you kind of feel like they made it as a mockery?
Well, so I think it's an effort to try to reduce the number of injuries that were coming out of the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Which was a fail, right? Because you still had a guy getting, severely injured. That wasn't a win. What I would say, though, these NFL players, okay, you got guys weighing 350 plus pounds at times. No matter what they do, they're very, very injury prone at that size. Because when you're moving at the speeds they move at, cutting and trying to stop really quick, bad things are going to happen no matter what. Okay. It doesn't matter if they're out there playing soccer, basketball, you name it. There's going to be somebody injured. The big advantage of flag football, as I see it, is you don't need that size to be able to play it. Okay. And be successful and be a stud. So I think flag football is a very, neat, a different option. Do I think it's going to replace the NFL ever? No. But as an Olympic sport, I think it's awesome. I think that's a great idea. I think you're way less injury prone. Obviously, you don't have the contact all around. You've got smaller guys that don't have all that body mass they're trying to push around. So I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it'll be a really fun watch, really fun sport for the world to watch. And and be able to cheer on their different their different countries. And obviously you've got a lot of countries that aren't football crazy, but it'll be kind of
no, there is
I mean, there's a lot, but
for flag football wise, like Mexico and
okay.
stuff like that. Oh yeah, it's a big thing.
Okay,
cool. The last quarterfinals that they had, the qualifying, they actually played in Israel. They played their championship game and Team USA won in Israel. That's why now it's going to be an official Olympic sport, because they wanted to see how the format was, to look at it and everything like that. My personal thing on flag football, I call it chess regarding to football, because if you don't know your route, if you don't know your placing on defense, you are completely exposed. Now, in NFL football or something like that, I feel like if you kind of misread your read or whatever, you have someone to easily replace it. But when you do like a 4-man, a 5-man, a 7-man's a little bit easier because you have an extra person to help, fill that zone or gap in. But I usually play like a 4 or 5-man flag football, and that's definitely just man-on-man defense. And like I said, like if somebody doesn't know the play on offense, everyone's screwed. Like there's no way of fixing that one. Now, if one person messes up their placement on defense, then we're all exposed on that the same way, because you're playing that man-to-man. So if we're playing like a zone and someone's playing like a one-man guy, all right, that one guy is shot straight to the barracks. Like it's literally that quick, that far as that mic drop in. It's just like it's that simple. Like I have learned so much playing flag football than what I did, and definitely got me a passion for football than what I was when I was in high school. Because I played football at a high school level. I didn't play it long. It's just I didn't like it. It wasn't the fact that I didn't really care for it. It was just the fact that I hated the practices, if that makes any sense. Like I didn't like the fact that, oh no, I gotta come stay after school, get hit, all this other stuff. Like it's like the weather looks like it's going to be miserable outside. Sometimes I would start fights with people just so it'd make it more interesting for practice the next day. Like it'd make it passion. Like, okay, now I get to go in and just tackle this guy, make it a positive impact to get that mindset. Okay, I'm looking forward to practice today. Like it was very rare for me to do that. And funny thing is, I mainly played just because all my friends played. So I wanted to be where my friends were, so hey, let's play football. And all of them would never hesitate it, and literally it's just like, okay, I guess we're all playing again this season. Yay.
Right.
But it's so crazy, like the transition of sports that they've done so much, and I love the fact that they did something regarding the flag football thing. I felt like they should have had a little bit of some of the guys that played flag to help the NFL players, like, for that week that they're there. I get it. That's just there to have fun, whatever. They got paid a buttload to play in that flag football game. We all know. And I mean, but I wish that they had a little bit more of a teaching to understand the game that was going to be presented for the flag format, just so it shows a representation of what to look forward to regarding flag football. Because I came in there thinking in flag football, you just need to be fast. If you're fast, nobody can touch you. Don't let them grab your flags. You're good. That is a whole different scenario. I got ran over by one of the biggest dudes I've ever met just because he had good hip movements. Dude ran from all the way from the goal line to a touchdown because we were not used to playing that game.
Right.
So it's a little bit of back and forth on that, but I tell people all the time, like, flag football, I feel like it's like chess compared to football because you have to know exactly the plays and stuff like that. Obviously, in the NFL, they built on the plays. They got these playbooks built in their heads. Like, they probably can wink and they probably know what play they're supposed to be running. But it's cool that they brought a different visual on it. I know a lot of people kind of had a negative feeling regarding it. A lot of people that I play flag with, obviously, kind of was not happy how it was presented. But it was cool to see that showcased a little bit of a different perspective because I always love seeing the skill games. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Like, that's one reason why I love about NBA All-Star games, because I like to watch the skill games. I don't really care for the slam dunk contest anymore because I don't feel like there's a dunk we've never seen anymore.
Right.
But it's cool to see that kind of scenario because you kind of can see, like, and get that visual, like, hey man, you see, they have fun with this. And it's just cool to see, like, their accuracy and stuff like that. Trevor did really good on his very first Pro Bowl. How many Jaguar players to say, hey, my first Pro Bowl game was a flag football game?
Yeah. Right.
Here.
Yeah, I think they I think the past Pro Bowl games, the last few had just been kind of a joke in the sense that, like, you could tell the players weren't going to tackle in any meaningful sense. And it was almost like, dude, why are we even playing this game? So I think the flag football was a viable option of how do you keep it competitive and still try not to get players hurt, which, I think it's a decent solution. You're still going to have injuries, but, it's probably the best option available.
I agree with you on that. I mean, especially say, like, if they want to do a flag football game for, like, the guys that play in the Super Bowl, I think that's an easier impact to them. Like, they can make a decision, hey, do you want to play or do you not? Like, it's your choice type scenario. And I like the fact that a lot of people participated in it because a lot of them could have probably just said, this is stupid. I don't care for this. I'm not going to do it. You could tell a lot of them felt out of their comfort zone a little bit, but the guys on defense, it challenged them more. I did see that part on the defensive standpoint because on a particular position that I run, there's, like, you got a set place of what placement to do, say, like when I said on your feet and stuff like that. So I noticed that they didn't rush the quarterback a lot, and the refs didn't understand the rules when it came to the game either because they were like, I don't know if you're supposed to go 7. I don't know if you were doing this. Like, they were hesitating on the stuff. So it's like, literally, you got to figure out the game before you present it, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
Mommy's away.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No worries.
She's got to be in the camera eventually. Gosh. Yeah, that's the model pretty soon nowadays. Good Lord. But I did like the fact, like I said, I did like that he brought it representation to it because it's something that people have been trying to put out in the world for the longest time. And when COVID hit, I felt like it could have been a very positive impact because, we're supposed to be 6 feet. So you could have played flag football and not be worried about, all the COVID issues and stuff like that. Of course, you're still close to somebody, but hey, you're supposed to grab their flag, not grab them. So maybe that's kind of like how they saw it at first. So it's really cool to see that transition, what they've done with this season for sure.
Yeah. I'll be looking forward to seeing how it transitions going forward, and as the sport picks up more and more popularity and becomes more and more well known worldwide.
Oh man. But yeah, man. So obviously we got Super Bowl coming up. I really was thinking the 49ers were going to the Super Bowl. I mean, out of anybody, I really thought like this guy Brock Purdy has been dominating this game. I've been a big fan of him for a moment because I was just like, this dude took a team that literally had no promising, that he was never going to get a game to play, and this man took them not only to the playoffs, they were projected to win with a backup quarterback. So that was even the cooler thing to me. Like the presentation that he was bringing, everything. I was just like, obviously everybody was questioning, like, when was that one game that's going to challenge Purdy? And sadly, that first play of the game, he gets hurt. Guy gets hurt. His backup gets hurt. Then Purdy's got to come back out, and it's like, that's got to be the worst.
49ers, man, their quarterback, like, you know,
they had like 4 or 5.
Ridiculous.
That's even the crazy part.
Yeah, it was insane. But yeah, I mean, 49ers, you know, I think, you know, whether he was healthy or not, you know, that's a lot to put on a brand, you know, a quarterback who's in his first year starting, who, you know, frankly isn't even, you know, I mean, he wasn't even the starter to begin the year. So you're asking a ton for a dude like that to try to, you know, win a huge game. You know, and, you know, Eagles are obviously, I mean, they're just a powerhouse this year. And so, you know, 49ers, I think, are probably, well, I mean, they're right up there with the Eagles. I think he maybe even more so, you know, just stacked all over. They're such a well-rounded team, which I think is what makes the, you know, when the 49ers finally got a serviceable quarterback, made the QB look so good, because
it reminds me of Alabama. Like when they don't play with Alabama, they're like a whole different squad. But when they're with that set group, man, it's like they're untouchable.
Yeah.
And I felt that's what 49ers were bringing this season. I'm just like, yeah, it's going to be 49ers this season.
Well, I think a lot of teams go around building a team the wrong way. So not to use I'll use your team as an example, the Jaguars. Okay. So you get,
we made a rough choices a long times now.
Well, I mean, so you get Trevor Lawrence. Okay. So great quarterback come out of college, right? One of the most highly, you know, desired quarterbacks to come out of college in quite some time. Mm-hmm. But who the Jaguars, who else do they have on their team? Who's going to protect him? Who's he going to throw to? Right. And so you get this quarterback, but by year 2, everybody's going, hey, do we even want this guy? Okay. Do we even want him? Because he doesn't have a shot. He's got nobody around him, right? This is an 11-on-11, you know, sport. And you can't do it 1 versus 11. And so, you know, the 49ers take the exact opposite model. They're like, well, we're going to pick best available players, put together a good team. If we get a great quarterback that falls in our lap, fantastic. If not, we can take a good quarterback and make him look really good based on the tools, all the other players that we have around him. Right. And I think, you know, as much as quarterbacks cost these days and as tough as it is to find an elite one, because let's face it, there's at least 2/3 of the NFL teams out there that do not have an elite quarterback, that are struggling to figure it out, and taking a model like the 49ers have done makes a lot of sense.
They wasted a lot of money on Trey Lance.
Yes, they did. And then who are they using? Somebody else. It's hard. It's hard to know, man. And that's why, you know, everyone says we take the best player available, but we all know that's a bunch of garbage. Okay. They may trade up to try to get it within a more reasonable stretch for the guy they want. But so often we all see it, that, you know, they're drafting by position, what they need, all this kind of stuff. but some teams do truly draft by best player available. And the 49ers are one of those teams most of the time.
So say this. So if you were the owner of your team and the draft is coming up, would you draft literally the guaranteed number 1 seed instantly, or would you draft a guy that you could build up to build a longevity for the franchise?
Longevity. So, and this is what I would say. So there are positions, and teams know this. Okay. So every single, just take we'll take the first round, for example. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All the players by position have a percentage of whether they're going to make it to be an elite player, whether they're going to make it to be a routine starter, or whether they're even going to be able to hack out a relatively decently long career in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And it's all broken down by percentages based on your position. So what I would look at if I was the owner of a team is, okay, those positions that I know I can hit at relatively consistently, those are the ones that I want to make sure I fill first. Okay.
Right.
And do those high percentage positions, get those filled as best as you can. And if you need to trade up to maneuver into those slots, great, go ahead, do it. But quarterback, trying to hit on quarterback.
That's like winning the lottery, man.
Why do you keep trying to do it? Just stop the madness, man. Pick those spots that are sure things, or as sure as you can find in the NFL, and move on. And and if you get later down the road where you can have the luxury of trying to hit a high quarterback, great. But how many of today's starting quarterbacks in the NFL are not first round picks?
No, how about this? Next season coming up, how many people are needing a quarterback next season? It's insane.
Right.
Like Zach Wilson, great example. Everybody thought he was going to change the program for the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Did not work. I mean, Trey Lance, they thought he was going to be a remarkable thing to go into the 49ers. That didn't work. I'm so thankful that Trevor worked, because we were in that same bubble for a moment. We're because everyone was questioning Trevor, we're going to see how he gets in the pros. We're going to see if he can really do this every single Sunday. And thank God it paid off. Literally thank God that paid off, because that could have been oh man, we're in that bubble as well. It's so crazy to see how they look at these features and stuff. I mean, we look at, stats and stuff like that. And I have conversations with guys at work, and I'm pretty sure people talk about this often, is say if a DK Metcalf is open for the draft, and obviously, Jacksonville's got Calvin Ridley waiting on the lineup, waiting to be there next season. Would you trade him to go for DK Metcalf, or would you keep Calvin Ridley because you already have a guarantee for him to play next season? That's a good comparison, though. That's a big pick. There's one that's okay, if you get DK Metcalf, you can have a guaranteed season if him and Trevor pick up a good chemistry instantly, or that could be one of your worst decisions, and we go back to being the same Jaguars we've been for the past 5 to 6 years again.
Honestly, I would go for the sure thing and stick with Ridley, because one, you've got you have some chemistry there. One, okay, they pair well. You've got to reestablish that with a new receiver. Okay,
right.
Also, the Jags. So I've got it in my book. Okay, so I talk all about this. With the problem the Jags have had for a long time is they'll have a good season and then they tank the next one. So they'll tank one, they tank two, they're back up, they're down, they're all over the place, man. They need a culture, they don't need to win the Super Bowl. Right now, what they need to do is build a steady winning team.
Yeah.
Right? And they need the stability. And so I would say you go with Ridley, you keep the stability going, and you build from there. And you know what? And could it work out better with Metcalf? Maybe. But like I said,
it'd be like how what we just said before. It's like bringing a new quarterback in the mix. He's got experience. Yes, he's got stuff like that. But now you got to build a chemistry with a receiver that most guys are not used to playing alongside with, like Christian Kirk. great season this dude had last season. I mean, Ingram. Oh my gosh, Ingram could have been one top 3 tight ends from last season. I mean, you got these guys that are so used to that core group that's going to be the receiving end, and then you bring DK Metcalf in. That kind of messes up the whole routine, even though that is a big, great rankings and it looks amazing on Madden. But like in visual,
exactly. Right.
It's a different scenario.
Yeah. I mean, well, we've seen that with the Browns for a number of years. Like, you're bringing the big name players.
I remember when you could simulate the Browns and they were going to win the Super Bowl 5 years straight on Madden after that team that was built.
Right. And then you see it in reality. You're like, this don't work.
Joke's on you.
Right. Yeah. So
Baker who?
it's not about who can put the biggest names on paper. It's who can get out there, who can gel as a team, who can, get it done where the rubber meets the road. And that is not always just about having a bunch of, big name, well-paid dudes out on the field at the same time.
I feel like that's where we've gotten to, though, with NFL and just sports itself. I'm definitely referring to the NBA. NBA is just wanting to put the top star wherever he can go, build it up with another big top star, 5 to 6 different stars, go undefeated probably half a season or lose half their season, make it great in the playoffs, and then lose the big one. Then they blame each other back and forth. Oh, you were a ball hog in this. Like,
right.
It's just a downfall thing. Like I tell people all the time, I would pick more role players than stars because the role players, they have that longevity span. If we're not good, okay, we can build up to be better. You get that star and you put that toxic environment involved in it, you can destroy your whole franchise.
Yeah. No,
And
I mean,
my team's a great example with that as well.
Yeah, I'm a Manchester United soccer fan, right? You've got Ronaldo, who is, many consider the greatest player to ever play the game. But what an ego, man. And he tore that team apart this year. And
which is insane because like they call him the next Pele, honestly.
Right.
Like Ronaldo's that guy.
Yeah. And they get rid of him and now they're doing great. They're up to 3rd in the Premier League and thriving. And so man, you don't need that.
That's like Seattle.
Yeah.
They got rid of Russ. Geno Smith out of anybody.
Right.
Dominated this season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Made it to an all-star game.
Oh gosh. Geno was not only an upgrade for the Seahawks, but the draft picks they got for Russell Wilson. I mean, talk about a steal. I mean, it kills me as a Broncos fan to think about it. But yeah, absolutely. Oh gosh. Seattle's. I wouldn't sleep on them next year, man. They had a good season. They're going to build off it. They've got a lot of picks coming up. They're up and comer. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. So, Kevin, obviously the book that we presented the first time you were on here, man, I got to say, great novel. Great freaking novel. Is there any upcoming projects that you got coming up? Any new novels you got?
Appreciate it. Spies on the Sidelines, all about the NFL. The next one I'm working on is on college football. Same topic, how teams spy on each other.
I can't wait for that one.
You've got a lot more history there. You've got a lot more stories to choose from because, right? How many college football teams are there? Just a ton. And then you've got new rules and how that impacts everything. So, in college football, for example, they don't allow a live scouting of games. So, but do teams still want to do that? Oh, heck yeah, they do. But how do they get around it? So, you have stuff like, fans or even players of teams going to watch games that coaches can't watch. So, it changes the game. How do they go about collecting information on their opponents? It's different. There's no use of headsets for player to coach communication. So they're still holding up signs. So, signal stealing is a lot bigger deal in college football than it is in the pros. So, yeah, I talk about all that stuff. I think there's a lot of really, really fun stories out there at college football level. Obviously, it's not as professionalized as the pro game. So it's
easier to get away with.
Interesting. It is. It's easier to get away with. It's a crazy, absolutely crazy world out there. But I think it's a lot of fun. And fans are probably even more passionate about the college game than the pros you'll find at times. So not
anymore.
I
Honestly, I gotta say, not anymore. Like, it hurts me to say that because I'm a big college football fan. Big college football fan. I mean, obviously, my Miami Hurricanes. That's another dang story, honestly. Like, literally, like, oh my goodness. But college football, the transfer portal, I don't know, man. I felt like that's just a participation award now for a lot of teams. Like if you play bad, you can just go whine and go to another team and see what else you can do there. Yeah. What is your feeling on it? Because I remember last time we were talking about it, it was just starting. Right. And now that we have seen it, what is your personal belief on it?
So, I agree with you. I mean, players do. They're just switching out. They don't like a coach. They get in somebody's doghouse and they're just like, I'll switch teams next year. And that's what they do. So, I've been interviewing a lot of coaches. I'm going to talk about this subject in my upcoming book. I've interviewed some coaches, even guys that deal in personnel departments for SEC teams, some big power teams, and they don't like it. They don't. And so, a conversation I had with one of these guys basically went like this. He said, Kevin, I got in coaching and all this because I liked being able to develop young people. Okay. That's what the college game is supposed to be all about, right? It's a sport, but it's what do you learn? What are you learning from the sport about life to make you a better person? Okay. Mm-hmm. And anyone who's been in a sport that long and played that hard has got a lot of good stuff out of it, right?
Right.
But what he said is, what we're teaching these kids is, it is all about you. You can do whatever you want. You don't have to listen to your coaches because you can just go somewhere else, okay? And these guys, we're not able to impart the lessons, the lifelong lessons that we would like to because of the transfer portal. So, yeah. So do you believe sports are rigged? It's for the most part, no. But, I like to, throw out an example. So, English Premier League and Champions League soccer a few years ago had a huge scandal where referees were getting paid off to manipulate the outcomes of games. And that
NBA referees do as well.
Right. And that happened with hundreds of games. So there's no doubt, the NFL's biggest worry is about NFL security. And I talk about that a bit in Spies on the Sidelines. And so,
Shiz, you got to get that book, man. It make you look at this game a whole different way, bro.
Yeah. Thanks, man. And so their biggest fear is, like the mafia being able to impact, being able to pay off refs or being, blackmailing players or coaches to either shave points or throw games. And, and there have been some stories involving those, those worries and those types of things. And the NFL stepping in and actually, finding players and also, suspending them for a time because of this type of stuff. And we've seen that rather recently with, an event where a player actually bet on his own team to win. And the NFL was like, they put the hammer down on even that. So, but it's a legitimate concern. It's a big deal. And to think that doesn't go on in professional sports is just naive. I mean, it's just a matter of how often is it taking place. That's the only question.
So what's your personal opinion of how the referees were in the playoffs? I honestly, I don't even care about how they were in this season because obviously that's downfall regardless. But this was probably in my opinion, one of the worst officiating that they have had in a long time regarding playoffs.
Yeah, well, just Tom Brady recently came out and said, there's holding on every play of the game. So, which is pretty much true. I mean, maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but not that much, to be honest. I mean, we all see it, right? I mean, how many times do you see
his games for sure?
Right. You see a defensive end about to sack a quarterback and, the offensive line has their hands all over him and grabbing him and preventing him from sacking it. And no flag is thrown. It's a constant annoyance of mine because I'm like, dude, the guy, having said that, if you throw a flag on every play, nobody wants to watch the game either, right? So it's really hard. So you get this situation where, it feels like it's almost arbitrary at times whether or not that flag's going to be thrown, and it gets really, really frustrating as players. I think it really comes down to consistency, and so and different referees have a different model. Some will be a lot more strict than others, and then you're obviously going to have the human factor in there of people make mistakes. You got refs; they're not going to see certain things even when they should.
Some of them look at it and don't say nothing, though. I've seen that personally, though.
Well, and the further you get into the playoffs, the more refs just let them play. And so the frustrating thing becomes, what is a foul in the regular season?
It's not going to be. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the Super Bowl, you can pretty much drop kick somebody in the head and no one's going to throw a flag no matter what. Yeah. So it's tough. It's just, yeah.
I remember still trying to figure out how they were doing these games, especially the game that they did with the Bills game, the Bills reffing game. Oh my gosh, that was just a nightmare to watch. Like I felt bad for both teams. It was a blowout. I felt bad for both teams, like especially the coaches, because I know they wanted to charge the ref.
Yes. Yeah. You see it all the time. And I saw that same thing with the Bills game. And I was hoping the Bills were going to win that. And I was pretty discouraged. And at one point I had the same thing in my mind, like, oh my gosh, the refs are really, doing a disservice to the Bills. But then, I saw, it was going both ways. It was going both ways. And it was just,
that was one thing because I have a friend on here that he's a Bills fan.
Yeah.
And he's a diehard Bills fan. And I get it. Yeah. My team's not been the best ever, but I joke around and say, at least we don't go all in every season and just don't complete what we were doing. Like I've said this numerous times. I really thought Josh Allen should have already been winning 2 Super Bowls by now. Like this guy has been spot on every year.
Yeah. Well, if anybody who is a lifelong fan of the Bills, my hat's off to you, man, because talk about a team that should have won so many Super Bowls, that have had great teams that just haven't managed to get it done.
The offense
it's brutal.
The defense they have, it's crazy to see just how it's not clicking still.
Yeah. They were my prediction to win the Super Bowl this year.
I had the Bills and the 49ers.
Yep. It could have been, but Bills had some injuries, and then they just kind of just stopped clicking at some point. It just wasn't the same powerhouse that they were going into the season. And I don't know.
All right, man. So it's the Super Bowl this Sunday.
Yep.
The big game it is. The Eagles versus the Chiefs. What are some of the positives that you could see for teams that they're going to look for? Obviously, the biggest thing I say all the time is if Pat Mahomes is healthy, it's going to be a different game.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you there. Obviously, he's a huge difference maker. I think my opinion is the Eagles have a better all-around team. I think they're pretty well stacked. I think they were one of the better teams, top to bottom, filling all those roster positions. They've done a really, really nice job there. What I will say is that, the big question mark's the quarterback. Is Jalen Hurts healthy? Is Patrick Mahomes healthy? If either of those teams,
I want to see Minshew play a little bit. That's all I want to see. I want to see Garner get in there.
Yeah. I think if either of those guys is pretty much ready to go and, pretty darn healthy, I think that's going to be a huge advantage for their team. What I will say is, I think the two X factors, the biggest X factor I hear nobody talking about is Andy Reid, the coach of the Chiefs, because he's one of the top 5 coaches in the league. And the thing with Andy Reid is he has been here and done that so many times.
He's been on both of these teams, which is even crazier.
Yeah, with the Eagles and the Chiefs, right? And then furthermore, you have to wonder, What does he know about the Eagles? Right? Because he was a coach there. And so what's still around that he may know? Whether it's how various coaches and members of the staff operate, whether it's little things behind the scenes of what's go on, whether it's knowing strengths or weaknesses of players that are still around there. All of that stuff can have an impact. We saw that when John Gruden went to Tampa Bay, right? And he goes up against the Raiders, and everybody's like, he knows all that information about the Raiders because he just came from there, and Tampa Bay rolls over him. And so obviously, he was only a year out. So that makes a much bigger difference because Andy Reid's obviously been with the Chiefs for quite some time. But that familiarity with an opponent that you can only get by being behind the scenes, behind the doors, it's beneficial. There's no doubt.
Man, I think this is going to be the best defense that the Eagles have played this whole season, in my opinion. Offensively, I feel like the defense for the Eagles are going to have trouble, man, because Travis Kelce, dude might got a little bit older, but this dude is not slowed down one bit. Like I say this all the time, like Travis Kelce is that big benefit factor for the Chiefs. And even crazier, they made the freaking Super Bowl without Tyreek Hill. I thought they were done after Tyreek Hill was gone.
Yeah.
And they made newer athletes, they made newer talent, and some of these guys are rookies and they're playing in the Super Bowl this Sunday. Like I remember Kadarius Toney. I hate the team that he played college with, but this dude has been balling this season.
Yep.
Like it's insane. Like how the Chiefs remind me of the Patriots in so many different ways. Like they're not the biggest star power team, but they are star power with that team itself. Like, I mean, it's just insane. Like, I think Travis Kelce, if he goes anywhere else, he's still going to be what he is on that field with them. But some of these receivers, like, you can only get that way if you're playing with an elite quarterback like Pat Mahomes. Like, Pat Mahomes is probably one, in my opinion, probably the top one quarterback in this league, in my opinion. Like, and if he's healthy, it's going to be a different ball game. But if he's not fully healthy, I mean, he was still having trouble handing the ball off the last game against the Bengals, which I really thought the Bengals were going to probably collapse on that, knowing that he was hurt, and they still pulled out a win. That's still crazy to me. Like, man, it's been a crazy season.
I think what you see with the Chiefs is, like Bill Belichick did with the Patriots, it's not only can they draft well and pick up good talent, but it's developing that talent, right?
They got the longevity too because they had that expansion.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I see.
And they're not spending a heck of a lot of money either. They've got these basic normal players, but they adapt them and make them that elite player just for that team.
Right. And that's why you saw the Patriots being able to do things like, hey, all our cornerbacks are busted up right now. So we're going to take some wide receivers and we're going to train them as cornerbacks in 1 week to get them ready for a game. And then they look decent. And you're like, what the heck? How is that even possible, man? That's great coaching. And that's why I like Andy Reid, because you see those, 4th and 5th round draft picks coming in and, and they're, in their first year and they're out there, they're playing, they're contributing, they're doing well. And I'm like, man, that's just good coaching. That is just good coaching. So.
It's like our teams were like, what are we doing wrong?
Yeah, right.
Y'all got an elite quarterback, and apparently his eliteness went away with Seattle.
Well, everyone likes to think about building an NFL team and think it starts at the quarterback position. It doesn't.
No.
It starts at the
I believe it's the offensive line.
I would say even before that, it starts with the head coach.
Head coach, I agree, but I think the offensive line would be your secondary thing.
I completely agree with you.
Even if you had Tom Brady, if you don't have someone that's blocking, Tom Brady's not performing like Tom Brady does with the team.
You can draft all those high first round draft picks for your offensive line, okay, and all that kind of stuff and do really good. But if you don't have the coaching staff to train them up, right, and I see so many stud players come out of college, they just go to teams that don't have great coaching and they don't develop like they should, and 3-4 years down the road they're out of football, and they're probably the difference between being a Pro Bowler and being out on the street working at, a 9 to 5 is did they get the coaching that they needed? So
I still say one of the most underrated quarterbacks was RG3. If he had a really good coach and I had a good staff, that dude would probably still be in this league a little bit longer.
It's always injuries, man. Injuries, like it's, we see, anybody who's been a college athlete, you see this, man, just the number of people that you're like, oh, this guy is so good and he could go pro, but then they get hurt. And you're like, oh, their career's done.
Yeah.
We've all played with those guys. If you played serious ball, like that, you're like, and so I would say, 3 out of 4 guys that are capable of going pro, they wash out before they get that chance just due to injury at some point in their career. And so, it's sad. You hate to see it, but that's just a huge part of the game. Sometimes it's just pure dumb luck.
Yeah, fantasy football don't help either.
No, it don't. You're right.
Oh man. Yeah. But Kevin, I appreciate you coming on, man. This was absolutely
thanks for having me.
Let's finish it out. Obviously, Eagles versus Chiefs. What do you predict the final score will be?
Oh man. I think we're gonna have some scoring. I'm gonna say 2 high-powered offenses. I think
it's gonna be a shootout. If Pat Mahomes is healthy, that's my biggest thing. If he's healthy, it's going to be a shootout.
I'm going to say 35-32. Eagles win. That's a guess.
That's a good one. Since Minshew's playing with Philly, I guess I'm going with them. It kind of makes me comfort a little bit knowing that Jacksonville lost to a team that's in the Super Bowl. So it's kind of like, okay, at least we didn't just get that one off and then they just get annihilated like 49ers.
There's that.
That was insane. But when they told me Brock Purdy was hurt, and I was like, yeah, this ain't going to be Purdy. No Purdy season here now. No. But Kevin, is there any last minute shouts you want to do? Also, guys, the links are below. Check him out. Go check out his book, guys. Highly recommend this. If you've ever questioned anything that's going outside with the NFL, guys, check this book out. I'm telling you, if you don't like it, I will pay for your refund. I'm not even kidding, man. This was oh my gosh, the knowledge that I got with this book, it made me feel like I could go to Vegas and start betting on teams and understanding how to do this nowadays, because it's like, it's so crazy. Like when we talked about it, like you thought about, it kind of sounds like that, but it's like, no, they wouldn't be like that. But when you see how it promotes in the season, you're like, yeah, they look like they knew what they were doing a lot quicker than the other team would do. Like, it's so crazy how I could watch these games now, like 5 to 6 games this season. Since I read your book, I could project yeah, they had to study their film a little bit earlier than what that team was, because they didn't expect that running back to run that side instead of this one. And it was just inside games, these little bits. It's so crazy how crucial that can be to dictate a game.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Warren. No, I think, you're spot on. There's a lot of stuff you can learn by studying your opponents and trying to get that advantage, collecting that information.
Wish I had that in high school.
No matter how you're doing it. So it goes
State champs back to back.
It goes on at all levels of football. It does. It goes on in high school football too. It's crazy. But yeah, man, anybody's interested, my website, spiesonthesidelines.com. You can check that out. You get all my social media handles if you're interested in following me. I've got lots of stuff about the book up there on my site, man. The book's selling everywhere that you can, pick up a book and buy it online. It's all over the place and whatnot. So yeah, I encourage you to check it out. If you want to know more about football, you want to know all the behind the scenes stuff, man. I think it's it's a one of a kind look behind that aspect of the game.
It's like the dirt sheet, like how all my wrestling fans are that want to do these clickbaits every 24/7. There you go. You got it presented in the NFL for you. And it's legit facts of how this stuff is going on in this world, man. Check that out. I'm definitely going to have you back when you have that college book out. And obviously, I'm going to have you back because, man, it's just great to have chats with you, talk sports and stuff like that. I know for Super Bowl wise, I feel like we're going to have a good game this season. I always usually say I want to see an overtime game, but after this season, no more overtimes. No more.
Yeah.
Refs already get in trouble enough. No more overtimes.
Yeah, it should be a good one. I think it's going to be a real good game.
All right, man. So y'all heard it first. My buddy Kevin said, "Fly Eagles fly" are going to prevail this weekend. Kevin Hart might get kicked out of the stadium again this year. We'll see. But Kevin, I appreciate you, man. I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, Warren. You too.
All right, guys. Time to get the go home cue. First and foremost, I want to thank Kevin Bryant for coming on today, having a fun chat with us, man. It's Super Bowl weekend. Let's have a nice little fun time. Before my daughter came in here and kind of got me all, shuffled a little bit. But guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure you like, share, and most importantly, subscribe. Hit that notification bell to stay in contact with all our platforms. Just to name a few, we're on all social media handles, guy. All at Buzzing with Marlo. You can find us anywhere. Obviously, our audio platforms, you can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube. You can find us on Podbean, Podvine. Let's see if we can name a little bit more. Apple products. We are on all Apple products now, ladies and gentlemen. Like a round of applause on that. Also, shout out to the guys for Good Pods, man. We have been killing it this year. Not even been on there so much. And, man, let me tell you what. We are number 2 in wrestling podcasts right now, guys. I don't know if they're just a fan of my character or not, but number 2 in wrestling podcasts. So, man, shout out to Good Pods on that. Shout out to the people that listens to Buzzing with Marlo podcast on Good Pods. Guys, if you didn't see the announcement on the profiles, we have got a couple of sponsors now. That's right, guys. Y'all can go to Raz Energy from repsports.com, and you can get yourself some pre-workouts. Let me show you one. You see the energy drinks, guys. I'm going to tell y'all this one right here. This thing is amazing stuff right here, man. It's BCA. I put it through my waters. It has electrolytes, EAAs. I mean, so much good stuff in it. And if you're not a big caffeine person, this is perfect for you. This doesn't have no caffeine in it, no jitters, nothing. It's just something you put in your water, refill you rehydrate yourself. The craziest thing is it helps clear your urine. So say like if you're not a big water drinker, when people push that, hey, you need to be hydrated, you need to drink a lot of water, you put this in your water and it shows up just like you've been drinking water, guys. I'm not kidding you with this. This is one of my number one things that I use. I've got this flavor. This one is the tropical rainbow, as y'all can tell right there. And then I've got this one right here that just came in. Recov 7, highly recommend, guys. Telling you right now, you get this, you don't like it, you let me know. I'll cover your expenses because this thing right here, this one's the gummy bear. If all my people that like the sweet tooths and stuff, I don't eat. As nobody's seen my pictures and stuff like that, as I've been constantly in my training mentality. Like I'm now currently at 11% body fat. I'm not eating candy, chips, anything like that. Guys, my downfall was when I snack wise right now, I can never turn down is chips. And I was big getting on, candy. So that helps me recover from just all those urges and intense stuff like that. So check those out, guys. If you hit the promo code AP2420, you get 15% off. Go to repsports.com and make sure you use the promo code AP2420. You get 15% off on your purchase. Also, guys, we have another one. All my lovely Americans out here, we got Tactical Brotherhood. If you're fans of guns, if you're fans of, just the military apparels and stuff like that, check these guys out. Type in promo code Buzzing with Marlo and you get 10% off. Tell them that Buzzing with Marlo sent you and you get a free Tactical Brotherhood decal. That's right, guys. You get an extra decal with free of your purchase just because you say Buzzing with Marlo sent you. Also, guys, we also have another one. It's called Ultimate X. It's wherever you can get your gym apparel. I currently waiting on my t-shirt and stuff now. So when I put that stuff on, and I think I got a couple of supplements with it as well, I'll let everybody know more into that. Obviously, guys, we've got a new sponsorship. Shout out to Dubby. That's right, guys. Dubby. You can get, if you're streamers or anything like that, I know consistently on the cameras, consistently on the video, playing the game, doing podcasts, doing anything that you're doing, especially just as an entrepreneur standpoint. They have it's kind of like these, like pre-workout type things, but they're genderless. So basically, it's pre-workout, but you don't get that I want to run through walls type mentality. You can go and get yourself some of those. Obviously, you can get you some t-shirts, stuff like that. Make sure you go to dubby.com, type in a promo code Buzzing with Marlo, and you get 15% off on your purchase. Obviously, guys, got to promote the podcast itself. As you see the merch, I've got the hats, I got the tank tops, I got hoodies, I got t-shirts, all that. Go to bonfire / Buzzing with Marlo, and you get 10% off if you type in the promo code Buzz20. That's right, Buzz20. You get 10% off. We're actually about to up the discount price again, guys. The promo code is going to be higher percentage next week. That's right, guys. So for all your special loved ones, for Valentine's Day coming up, you did the promo code. I'm going to give you 20% off. Yes, that's right, guys. If you buy a shirt or a tank top with the pink coloring, I'm going to give you 20% off on your purchase. So, guys, stay in for that one. Obviously, guys, when I said for Raz Energy, they have their own energy drinks and stuff like that. You can get these at GNC and the Vitamin Shop as well. But if you want your select ones and they only have certain options, these right here you have to buy on the website. But man, like I said, it's one of my number one go-tos. I'm drinking like 20 of these damn things a day. Water galore lately. It's been crazy, man. It's all this stuff that I've been dieting, get myself prepared for this, me getting back in the ring and just myself itself. I wanted to really make a big change just health-wise, personally for me. Everybody looks at me like, hey, man, you really had no problem, whatever. I wanted to just challenge myself to certain things and get myself to a different level to stand up to where I felt like I needed to go. I'm at 195 pounds now with 11% body fat. That's unheard of for me. But guys, no, enough babbling on. I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. This was an awesome episode. Shout out to Kevin Bryant. Guys, I'm not going to say it no more, man. Go check out that link below. Go get you that book, man. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. All my NFL fans, all my football lovers, or just sports itself, if you want a good novel, definitely go check that book out. Definitely go check it out. But guys, this has been another great episode of Buzzing with Marlo. The audio will be out tomorrow for this episode. Obviously, if you didn't, go check out last week's episodes. All three of my episodes, I had, commission talks. I had with myself and the health specialist. That was oh my gosh, that was such a good one. Shout out to Gregory Hall on that one. My results came back. I'm pretty healthy. So that was a positive one. And I think it's just because I made that announcement I was going to really focus on getting a lot healthier than what I was before. And also my last episode last Friday with Selena Willows, the swim instructor, we got really good positive feedback on that one. So thank y'all for that. But guys, also I want to give a couple of shout outs. I want to give some nice little shout outs. I want to give a shout out to my girls, Shar C and the Queen of the Indies, Miss Courtney, the CNC Connection. Guys, y'all can check them out every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. These girls talk their wrestling, man. They know it. That one over there, Miss Shar, that's a John Moxley number one fan. By far, nobody's beating that. I'm guaranteeing that right now. That is Miss Moxley over there. She loves her Moxley. And obviously Miss Queen Courtney of the Indies is exactly how it sounds, man. Courtney is a big fan of just indie wrestling. They have great minds talking about pro wrestling. These girls give you their point of view. They have guests on each and every week, and they're just good knowledgeable and very entertaining. So check the CNC connection out from the mob itself. Obviously, guys, you can check out my boy Jay Lyric and his boy Doug on the Intimate Conversations of Jay Lyric. They air on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on live on Facebook and YouTube. Check them out. Obviously, I'm not going to say it again, man. Check out this book right here, man. This is the book that we have been talking about for nonstop. Check this book out. The link is below. Go buy you this book. Go buy it, man. Seriously, go buy it. Shout out to my boys, Kofi Winston and Brother Bub from the Dirty Heels podcast. Their boys are killing it each and every week. Shout out to the Jobber Tears podcast. Shout out to my boys, The Commission, my boy Dre on Wheels from the 1130 podcast. That's right here. That man right there. And obviously my boy Eric the Joker from the Wrestling Asylum. Yes, guys. He actually has a very good impersonation of Joker's voice. I'm definitely not going to lie to y'all about that. Obviously my boys from the Commission. Check out that episode we did last night live. That was a big one because we were talking about, with Cody Rhodes and stuff like that. If you're a big wrestling fan, highly recommend go check that episode out. You got 3 podcast collabs into one group, and we bring out awesome content each and every week on Commission Talks. We air every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're on pretty much everything. But check us out on that. Obviously, go check out my boy Shiz the Blackheart. He was on this comments recently, and his group, the OTTR Mob. They are on every Friday. Last week of pro wrestling, Talk Pro Wrestling. They are on at 11:15 p.m. Eastern Time every Friday night. Check them out. They know their stuff. Shout out to the mob. Entertaining as can be. Love all them guys to death. Highly recommend go check them out. If you haven't checked those guys out, go check them out. Please go check them out. They're so entertaining. Each and every one of them have like a personal gym to themselves and what they bring to that show. Also, guys, check out my boy Brian B from the Beeline Entertainment LLC. Check him out every Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. My dog is killing it now. Check him out. Also, guys, y'all check out my boy Tino on Tino Talk Pro Wrestling. He has been killing it, guys. Oh my gosh, Tino is the watch along king, in my opinion. That is not kidding when I say that. I don't exaggerate when I say that. He is the watch along king. Also, guys, I've got a quick little ad before we go. Shout out to DCCW Wrestling Promotion in Jacksonville. They are now having dates open to do pro wrestling training. Here's the video.
Have you always aspired to be a professional wrestler? Do you think you have what it takes to step through these ropes and take your place among the immortals? Well, now you have an opportunity. Join us at the DCCW training facility at Harvest Ministries in McClenny, Florida. There you will be put to the test and challenged like you have never been challenged before. If you think you have what it takes, prove it to the world, but most importantly, prove it to yourself.
That's right, guys. If you need to rewatch that, contact Steve Penders, contact Vanessa Pender, the owners of that great promotion, DCCW. They have an upcoming show March 11th in Baker County. Rumors has it somebody might be there. I'm not saying anything, but check them out. Also, if you are wanting to get into the world of pro wrestling, you don't know how to contact, you don't know, get with me and I can help you find a certain connection or something like that. But DCCW is a great, great promotion. Also, I cannot believe I almost forgot these guys. Shout out to my boy, the KY guy, and Donnie Cage on Against the Mat Wrestling Podcast. I know y'all will see me on there occasionally every other time. Great wrestling podcast. Great knowledge of the sport, of the business. In that old school vibe, I love that part. And it's cool, the retro tri scenario. I love those guys. Great podcast. Also, I want to give a shout out to Coast to Coast Sports Entertainment, my buddy Adam, my boy, man. I mean, Ace, man. Check them boys out, man. Their network is. I'll put their network on the links below, man. Go check these guys out, man. They kill it each and every week. They cover every sport. They cover stuff about ghost stories. They cover stuff about murder stories. They cover about pretty much anything. Go check that network out. Also, man, just go check out any of these local podcasters that y'all know. Check out some of these guys that are bringing so much energy and entertainment to you each and every week. Check them out. We're on the road to WrestleMania. I know a lot of people have been asking me, how I feel about everything going on with that. I'll talk about that on Commission Talks, obviously. And might even do a wrestling chat talking about with my episodes soon. I'm actually got a lot of upcoming guests coming up pretty soon, big name guys that we're going to reveal pretty soon down the road. We're also going to do a couple of watch-alongs of some old Raw and SmackDowns. I got a really big guest for that one. I'm looking forward to that one. So I'll make sure everybody stay tuned to that. But guys, thank y'all for watching. I hope everybody enjoys the Super Bowl. I hope your team that you pick wins. Fly, Eagles, fly. Minshew, you still my number one. But guys, thank y'all for joining me. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all next week when we have more down the road. Later, guys.
I interrupt this regularly scheduled podcast so I could give a message to the American prodigy. I hear you loud and clear. October 1st, DCCW in McClenny, Florida, you showed up. You made your presence known and you almost cost me the match. See, before, it was business. Now, it's very much personal. So, American prodigy, watch your back. Because the prodigy is about to become a nightmare. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. But the only thing you're going to hear is that I'm El Niño, an American prodigy. One way or the other, you will subscribe.